Hey, Garage Logic fans, I do a podcast on the Garage Logic Network that comes out every Wednesday and Friday now, twice a week. But here's an important caveat. There is zero logic available in my show, in the formal definition of logic. Of course, life is a yin and yang kind of thing. There's the logic side, and then there's the what the hell side, which needs to get its exercise. So come for the what the hell and stay for the you've got to be kidding me. Mischke, now Wednesdays and Fridays, twice a week.
What can 160 years of experience teach you about the future? When it comes to protecting what matters, Pacific Life provides life insurance, retirement income, and employee benefits for people and businesses building a more confident tomorrow. Strategies rooted in strength and backed by experience. Ask a financial professional how Pacific Life can help you today. Pacific Life Insurance Company, Omaha, Nebraska, and in New York. Pacific Life and Annuity, Phoenix, Arizona.
Audible's romance collection has something to satisfy every side of you. When it comes to what kind of romance you're into, you don't have to choose just one. Fancy a dalliance with a duke, or maybe a steamy billionaire. You could find a book boyfriend in the city and another one tearing it up on the hockey field. And if nothing on this earth satisfies, you can always find love in another realm. Discover modern rom-coms from authors like Lily Chu and Ali Hazelwood, the latest romantasy series from Sarah J. Maas and Rebecca Yarros, plus Regency favorites like Bridgerton and Outlander. And of course, all the really steamy stuff. Your first great love story is free when you sign up for a free 30-day trial at audible.com/Wondery. That's audible.com/Wondery.
Hello? Hello? The nice thing about the sound of a whale is that it sounds the way you would want a creature like a whale to sound. That's the kind of voice you would want it to have. Sometimes creatures have the perfect voice, and sometimes they throw you a little bit of a curve. The lyre bird, for instance. You ever hear the lyre bird? This is the actual sound coming out of a lyre bird. Right here. But it also makes other sounds, sounds that mimic what it hears in the wild. So if people take photos of it, this is the sound the bird makes. That's the bird there. That's not a camera. No joke. It's mimicking the sound of a camera clicking, and it's doing it perfectly. If people use a different kind of camera, one with a motor, you get a different sound out of the lyre bird. Listen to this. That's not a camera, that's the bird. You can look this up, the lyre bird. If this bird hears chainsaws in the jungle, they mimic that sound perfectly. This is the actual bird call right here. Listen. That's not a chainsaw. That's the lyre bird making that sound. If they hear a car alarm, they can do that sound as well. Listen to this. It's extraordinary. Now, a wolf sounds just like you would want a wolf to sound. Exactly like you would want a wolf to sound. If you saw the creature and didn't know the sound it was going to make, and then you heard it, you'd say, yeah, that sounds about right. A dolphin? Well, that might be one of those curveballs. I don't know about you, but the first time I heard a dolphin, I didn't expect to hear this. What if, just for a day, people had the sounds of animals and animals had the sounds of people? What if just for one day, when people opened up their mouths, animal sounds came out, and when animals opened up their mouths, people sounds came out? What if you were doing an interview for your company and you asked the fella across from you about his employment experience, and he replied, you can almost picture the face of a guy talking that way, can't you? He would look like the Turkish prison guard in Oliver Stone's Midnight Express. Whereas, if you're interviewing a guy and he talks like a dolphin, you're going to imagine a completely different human face. A skinny guy with a long, narrow nose. It's always intriguing to me the way grizzly bears all sound pretty much alike. Or dolphins all sound pretty much alike. But you get a couple of human beings together, say you grab Sam Elliott, the actor, and, I don't know, Truman Capote, the writer. Hard to believe they're even the same species. You take Sam Elliott, he sounds like this.
Tom and I both started there at the same exact time. And I lived right out the back gate on Tennessee, right out the back gate of Fox.
And now you take Truman Capote, and he sounds like this.
She was pert. She became a completely different person. She had this immense rapport with the camera.
Wow, they're both human beings. That's the same species right there.
The back gate of Fox.
She was pert.
Tennessee.
Rapport with the camera.
Now, sometimes things get really weird. I know, you thought it can't get weirder than the lyre bird. Well, have you heard the shoebill stork? The shoebill stork. You know anything about it? First of all, it looks prehistoric. The shoebill stork looks like it came from the dinosaur world, and of course it did. It has a death stare that would terrify the toughest among us. Shoebill stork. But listen to the sound it makes. Listen to this. That is not a machine gun. That is not a machine gun. That is the shoebill stork. You can look all of this up. I've been fascinated by all this the last couple of days. The shoebill stork, the lyre bird, Truman Capote, Sam Elliott, grizzly bears, dolphins. But you know, to this day, if I had to live with just one sound from an animal, just one sound, if all the rest of them were to go extinct, and lying in bed at night I could only hear one sound, one animal sound, you know which one I'd pick? It isn't even a contest for me. Sure, I love the sound of the wolf. I love all sorts of sounds. The mourning dove, one of my favorites. But again, if it was just down to one sound, and that's it, I had to pick my animal. No, I'm not going with a grizzly. And I'm certainly not going with a howler monkey. You ever hear a howler monkey? I never even heard of a howler monkey till this week. Listen to this. Now, I could possibly pick the kookaburra. The kookaburra has an interesting sound. You know the sound of a kookaburra? That's quite a sound. But it really is no contest. If I was stuck with just the one sound of the one animal, I would choose this one every single time. the loon. What an evocative sound. I still get goosebumps every time I hear it. Haunting, mysterious, lovely. The world is a strange, magnificent, and often deeply injurious place. Last week, a fellow walked into the offices of Bradshaw and Bryant. Wasn't limping from a slip and fall. He wasn't cradling a neck from a fender bender. He was wearing what used to be a sweater, a very nice hand-knitted 100% alpaca sweater, except now it was little more than a pile of mildly singed yarn, because, as he explained it, his sweater had achieved spontaneous catastrophic structural failure. His sweater had exploded right off his torso in the middle of a crowded convenience store. And he had a question. Who pays for the emotional trauma of having my favorite alpaca garment stage an impromptu textile protest? Bradshaw and Bryant doesn't just handle accidents. They handle the bizarre, the unbelievable, the things that happen when the world decides to violate its own contract with sanity. Bradshaw and Bryant have seen it all, filed it all, litigated it all. They've won it all. Don't settle for it was just a freak thing. Call Bradshaw and Bryant. Learn more at minnesotapersonalinjury.com. You folks hoping to have an e-bike to ride next spring should really get out to EcoFun Motorsports in Forest Lake and Burnsville. They're clearing out their e-bikes 50% off. An extraordinary deal. E-bikes at EcoFun Motorsports are starting at $899. The manufacturer's suggested retail price on these e-bikes is $1,899. Again, you can get them right now for $899, including step-through ones and traditional bike styles. Fat tire e-bikes for snow, normally $2,299. Now just $1,199. Mountain full suspension e-bikes, MSRP on those $5,699. $19.99 right now at EcoFun Motorsports. And there's a Mischke podcast special. Buy an e-bike, get 50% off an upgraded seat. Those can be expensive. You'll get 50% off an upgraded bike seat by mentioning the show. That offer is good until the end of the year. The EcoFun Motorsports e-bike sale. If you want to enjoy an e-bike this winter or next spring, there's no place in this region with a better deal right now. I started out this show with the sound of a whale, because there's a whale of a tale, and I want to tell you about it. A dead sperm whale, the length of half a basketball court and the weight of a fully loaded tractor trailer, has washed up on the beaches of Nantucket, and it is too big to move. It's out there right now on the beaches of Nantucket, a small island off Cape Cod, Massachusetts. The 50-foot whale washed up on that island, a former whaling hub, last Sunday. Cause of death? Unclear. The last time a sperm whale washed ashore on Nantucket was a quarter century ago. And what did they do with that one? Well, that sperm whale was towed for 9 hours by a tugboat to a nearby shipyard. Then it was loaded up on a flatbed truck, and it was hauled to a landfill for a necropsy. That's an autopsy on an animal. They don't say we're going to do an autopsy, though. They don't feel comfortable saying that. That's for people. They had to come up with a different word. Necropsy. I don't know who the poor doctor was who worked at the landfill. That's a lousy gig. How many people ever visit him with a creature needing a necropsy? He must be bored stiff half the time, just staring off in the distance. At a landfill. I went to medical school for this. He stands there, smelling the rotting remnants of items he can't even recognize all around him. Dirt, mud, wondering when the next whale will be hauled his way. There he stands, the good doctor, waiting for his next necropsy, saying to himself, my God, my parents would be rolling in their graves if they could see me now. They funded my medical training, and here I sit, wondering if anyone will be dragging the carcass of some animal my way soon. He must have been thrilled quarter-century ago, seeing that big old whale coming down the road. My God, is that work coming my way? That's a job! That looks like a big old sperm whale, right in the back of that flatbed. Guess they're going to be wanting me to tell them how it died. My guess is it was Ahab. But we shall see. I better get my equipment from the back of my camper trailer. This is going to be a good day. I can feel it. I have work. No more sitting around drinking bourbon and staring at garbage heaps being bulldozed into shallow graves. I have work. I'm going to be plying my trade today, you betcha. This way, boys. Park it near my camper there. I'm going to need a bigger examination table I can see. For now, just dump it on the ground. This is the first creature anyone has brought me since I did the necropsy on that medieval dragon that turned out to be a hoax. I could have told them it wasn't real, what with a smiley face, but they said they wanted me to do a necropsy. Nothing more embarrassing than sticking the scalpel in the side of a creature and having nothing but cotton balls come out. I was a laughingstock. Went years without any work. Scientists in Nantucket this week said they wanted to follow a similar approach with this latest dead whale, the same approach that they utilized a quarter-century ago. They wanted to tow it 9 hours away with a tugboat, drop it at a shipyard, take it in a flatbed to this landfill for another necropsy. But they determined this one was too big. The one that's dead on the beaches of Nantucket right now is too big. It's too awkward, too heavy to remove from that beach. No amount of equipment can pull this off, said a local official. This one is 14,000 pounds heavier than that one 25 years ago. Nantucket's town manager, Libby Gibson, told a local newspaper the latest plan is to drag the whale far enough offshore so that it doesn't wash ashore again. Of course, in my ideal world, it would in fact wash ashore again, in the exact same place. Because you know and I know that their plan out there in Nantucket is for it to be towed out to sea so it can wash ashore on someone else's beach and become their problem. Meanwhile, our necropsy expert is sitting at that landfill on the phone learning they won't be bringing him any project anytime soon, and he'll have to continue to enjoy his bourbon and that pleasant vista. A newspaper reporter posted a video today showing people sawing off the whale's lower jaw, this dead whale's lower jaw, in what's being reported to be an effort to prevent thieves from stealing the teeth of this sperm whale. Wait a minute, does that make any sense? A newspaper reporter posted a video today showing people sawing off the whale's lower jaw in what's being reported to be an effort to prevent thieves from stealing the teeth. Well, why can't thieves have the teeth? I don't understand the problem. I'm uncomfortable with people sawing the jaw off this thing. In fact, can I go on record? I am against sawing the jaw off anything. I don't think a saw and a jaw should ever come near one another. City officials said the public may observe the whale from a distance of 300 feet in accordance with the Endangered Species Act. Well, this thing isn't endangered. This thing is dead. Footage posted on social media showed people gathering on the beach near the carcass. Local officials said, "We welcome you to come see and honor this magnificent creature." They apparently consider sawing the jaw off honoring the creature. Sperm whales, by the way, are named after the waxy oil sac found in their heads that helps them hear. Whalers, back in the 18th century, mistakenly believed this sac contained the whale's semen. Thus, they were named sperm whales. Sperm whales were once a primary target of the commercial whaling industry because their oil was used for lamps, for candles, for lubricants. The whales themselves, of course, never cared for their name, sperm whale. Many a whale was heard to mutter, "You have got to be kidding me. They're calling us what? Sperm whales? Those bastards. They got a lot of nerve. No wonder Moby Dick rammed those ships. Sperm whale? You're calling us sperm whales? Guess we're playing hardball, boys. Take this. Bam! Get 'em, Moby. Bam! Another one. Bam! One of the most noble creatures on this earth. Indeed, a creature many believe to be so sophisticated it ought to be classified like dolphins, classified as a non-human person. And we went and called them sperm whales? You know what word they came up with for us humans? They call us scat. Scat. Doesn't feel good to be called that, does it? The name came about because the whales spotted some humans floating in the water once back in the 17th century and assumed that it was whale scat. So that's our nickname. Whaling was, of course, the primary business on Nantucket Island from the 1690s until the 1850s. These days, in most dive bars in America, if you walk in and mention that whaling was the primary business on Nantucket centuries ago, no one will comment on the whaling. They'll instead latch on to that town name, Nantucket, and they'll start to pass along a crude limerick. It never fails. Just mention Nantucket in any dive bar in America. Out will pop that famous limerick. Wait, did someone say Nantucket? The town's name is merely mentioned in passing, and unimaginative, unoriginal, uninspired folks drinking themselves into oblivion will begin a lewd limerick. And do you know the roots of that limerick? I mean the deep roots. I mean, do you know where limericks came from? That crude limerick, "There once was a man from Nantucket," that has to be traced back to the words of St. Thomas Aquinas. Long before there was a man from Nantucket, there was a saint. In fact, I'm named after him. Thomas Aquinas, the man responsible for the first limerick way back in the 13th century. I'm not kidding. The first limerick was delivered in Latin. Old Tommy Aquinas. Sit vitorium, meorum, evacuatio, concupiscente et libidinus exterminatio, caritatis et patiente, humiliatis et obediente, omniuque vitorum argumentatio. He was 19. He had just come back from hanging out with some young woman who was quite attractive, and Tommy needed help controlling himself. A rough translation of what I just read there would be, to circumvent brimstone and fire, expelling unsavory desire, I piously pray and devoutly obey as my soul soars progressively higher. Sit vitorium, meorum, evacuatio, cum capiscente et libidinus exterminatio, caritatis et patiente, humiliatis et obediente, omniumque vitorum augmentatio. That was the first limerick. And old St. Thomas Aquinas had no idea what he was setting in motion. He had no idea that years later, guys would be sitting around in dive bars saying there once was a man from Nantucket. But that's where we are today, folks. By the way, There Once Was a Man from Nantucket was first published in 1902 in an issue of the Princeton Tiger. That was Princeton University's humor magazine. But that There Once Was a Man from Nantucket was pretty G-rated. The original There Once Was a Man from Nantucket went as follows. There once was a man from Nantucket who kept all his cash in a bucket, but his daughter, named Nan, ran away with a man, and as for the bucket, Nantucket. Get it? Nantucket, Nantucket? There once was a man from Nantucket who kept all his cash in a bucket, but his daughter, named Nan, ran away with a man and asked for the bucket Nantucket. Well, some drunk students read that, and, well, they went to town. They changed it, they edited it, they played with it, and they spewed it out at parties. That's what you get having a town name like Nantucket. Guys are going to have some fun with it. Now, St. Thomas Aquinas went on to have some decent limericks as well. He gets credit for applying the rational philosophy of Aristotle to the tenets of Christianity and coming up with the limerick, "There once was a Jesuit knight who proved with his logic airtight that all of infinities touched by divinity, starting with let there be light." And James Joyce, he took his cue from the great Saint Thomas Aquinas and tried to elevate the limerick a bit after several years of people having way too much tawdry fun with the limerick. James Joyce wrote, "My writing is deep and satirical, ironic and more or less lyrical. Is life a true wonder, disguised as a blunder, or a joke in the shape of a miracle?" Good questions. But let's get back to this dead whale in Nantucket, the one that has them flummoxed. What do we do with this thing? It's lying there now in silence. But sperm whales, when they're alive, are the loudest animal there is. There isn't an animal louder than a sperm whale. They're fascinating creatures. Their brains are the largest brains in the world. They live about as long as humans live. Like us, they have lungs. They don't have gills. They need to breathe. They need that open air, that same lovely world we need, that open air. They just happen to be able to hold their breath longer than we can. So they can hang out in the sea. They can hold their breath up to 90 minutes. That's not bad. But still, these are breathing animals needing fresh air. How else are they like us? They live in large social groups, clans. They develop unique vocal dialects. They exhibit behaviors like cooperative child rearing. They show empathy. They have characteristics that lead researchers to believe these whales possess actual culture and the capacity for deeper thought and deeper emotional intelligence. They do not know how this one died. Typical ways are being hit by a ship, ingesting plastic, which blocks their digestive system. The oceans are filled with plastic, and sperm whales take that in, and it blocks their digestive system. A pathetic thing we've done to the oceans. Or they get entangled in fishing gear. That sometimes happens. But this one here out in Nantucket, this one possibly died in an assisted living facility deep beneath the waters off the coast of Cape Cod. It was 70 years old and coming to the end of its run, spending its final days watching Wheel of Fortune and Jeopardy, just waiting for the end, talking to various health aides who would stop by with some pills or to change the bed sheets. Sometimes turning off the television and just staring out the window, that little narrow view of the world, the lone window there that offered little more than some sunlight, which would grow and then fade throughout the day, turning ultimately to a blackness as the room grew dark in the evenings, when the whale's thoughts would turn to the meaning of life. What was it all about? It was, in fact, late at night when the heart attack hit. It was quick, relatively painless, just a gasp, and then it was over. He floated to the surface and began the long trek to the beaches of Nantucket. And once there, the limericks began in earnest. There was a dead whale in Nantucket, and the mayor said, "Where can we chuck it?" And she was in charge, and incredibly large, so under her bed she did tuck it. until it started to smell, and her husband said, "Honey, you're swell, but skip that lingerie. The stink is in the way, and my libido ain't doing so well." You know what I'm saying, baby? We got to do something about that whale. And Large Marge in charge said, "Then we shall, my little hubby. I'll have my bed towed to a landfill. There's a man there who does necropsies, and we can place the whale on my bed and have the doc learn what it died from. Afterward, we'll allow a bulldozer to push the whole kit and caboodle into a large pit." And so the two headed to the landfill, and it was the strangest sight. Hubby in his pajamas, Large Marge in charge in her giant lingerie, and a 52-ton sperm whale rotting atop a huge bed. The doc saw them coming down the road and said, "By God, more work! This is going to be a good day." He grabbed the tools from his camper and started in on his necropsy. Unfortunately, he started in on Marge. She had to say, No, that's the whale there." And he then went to work on the beast, determining the creature had died of loneliness. Loneliness. He died of loneliness in that assisted living facility. Loneliness was nothing new there, of course. All the old ones were lost in their own little worlds, thinking about their own forgotten little lives, failing to pay attention to one another in that loneliness, just staring out the window as the day would brighten and the light would fade and the darkness return. Loneliness became an epidemic in that assisted living facility, and this one died of loneliness. His heart broke, and he perished. Too many hours spent watching Jeopardy, Wheel of Fortune, staring out that little window into the parking lot, with the one lone tree half dead. All those elderly around him, longing to be young again and back in their wild lives, when they were first starting out and the world was all possibility and promise. Instead, there they were, in that building, on the final stretch, that extraordinary life ending without fanfare, and instead, with boring game shows, and mashed potatoes, and the sound of healthcare workers emptying bedpans. Why doesn't life end like the summer ends, with wild color, clean, crisp, enlivened air, blue skies, trees, and brilliant displays, preening and more beautiful than at any other time of the year? In the autumn of one's life, before winter brings death, one should be in exaltation, not watching Wheel of Fortune and remembering when one used to have friends. We're killing people slowly in these assisted living facilities. Where are the children? Where are the gardens? Where are the forest paths and the wild wind? Wake up, people, you're not dead yet. Let's not have this whale's death be in vain. Let's use it as a springboard to rethink, reimagine the end of our days. Let us not die like beached whales.
Tom, I think you've gotten carried away with this. I'm not sure where all you're planning on taking it, but I'd put on the brakes about now.
Fair enough. Let's be honest. Your 401k is a psychic vampire. It just sits there absorbing your life force, promising you a yacht someday, but mostly sending you statements that look like the manifest for the Titanic. You tried to read about mutual funds one time, and now your brain feels like pigeons fighting over breadcrumbs. The problem is the entire system has been designed by people who wear wool vests and think Casual Friday means wearing a slightly less ugly tie. You need a human being who has been standing guard at the gates of financial sanity for over 4 decades. He's seen it all. Josh Arnold. The bubbles, the bursts, and the brief period when people thought Beanie Babies were a retirement strategy. He'll give you 48 minutes of his time, on the phone, free of charge. Call Josh, 952-925-5608.
Investment services offered by Josh Arnold Investment Consultant, LLC, a security and investment advisor. Past performance is no guarantee of future results. All investments involve risk. Tommy Mischke is a paid endorser.
What if you could still experience joy, even if you couldn't name the day of the week? What if the most important thing wasn't what you remembered, but how you were feeling on a given day? At the Welshire of Bloomington and Medina, they don't think the most important things are names or dates or where you put your glasses. The most valuable experience is a feeling, the feeling of safety, the feeling of belonging, the feeling of being loved. At the Welshire Memory Care Center, they know dignity doesn't require total recall. It requires a setting built around empathy, an environment where staff doesn't manage symptoms, they connect with the person, where the architecture itself is designed to soothe, where the routine is warm, familiar. The Welshire is possibly the only place designed to protect the present happiness of the person you love, instead of chasing a lost past.
Dear Abby, what did they write today? Dear Abby, what did you have to say?
Dear Abby, some longtime friends of ours, the Smiths, are driving us crazy. They're the kind of people who would do anything for us, but we're at the end of our rope with them. Every single conversation involves listening to them brag about their son or their grandson, neither of whom is anything special. The Smiths never ask about our kids or our grandkids. We've had to stop inviting them when we host others for dinners at our house. Friends have quietly asked us not to invite them when the Smiths are going to be there. They dominate the conversation, Abby, with their endless stories, which are of no interest to anyone else. The Smiths are ultra-sensitive. Any request for them to modify their behavior would result in the immediate loss of the friendship. Help! Signed, Worn Out in Alabama. Abby says, quit inviting the Smiths to dinner and be increasingly hard to reach for other social occasions. Eventually, they'll get the hint.
Please speak up.
It's time to talk to the Smiths. You gotta talk to the Smiths. It's time. You gotta sit them down. You gotta say, your kids, your grandkids, they're nothing special. They are to you, I get it, but they are not to anyone else. It's a hard lesson in life to learn. We all need to learn it. I mean, we're all the Smiths to some degree. We're all certain our world is interesting to others, but it is not. Your dog, your lovable dog, only lovable to you. To everyone else, just another dog. Your kid, the love of your life, I get it, but just another kid in a world of millions of kids. Your cool story of what happened the other night, it's only interesting to you. Far more interesting things have happened. Your vacation, the trip you thought was so special, put the damn slides away. Try to understand this. Mrs. Smith, Mr. Smith, I'm sorry. Your life is cool and interesting to you, but it's blah, 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 blah to everyone else at the dinner party. None of your stories are interesting. None of your stories are funny. None of your experiences are novel or fresh. Having said all that, Carol and I are having a dinner party, and we would love you to come. Now, here is a ball gag. That's the only thing I got to tell you. We are giving you a ball gag that you have to wear. What's that? No. It's not an S&M party. Although if you have been to S&M parties, and that's why you know about these ball gags, we will take them off momentarily at the dinner party for you to tell the S&M story. That's the only thing we want to hear. The rest of your life, utterly uninteresting. So do you know how to attach the ball gag? It looks like you do. I do want to hear about how you know about this. Go ahead, put it on. What's that? You want to say something before you put the ball gag on. Okay, go ahead. Thanks for letting me say something here. I will wear the ball gag. I really will. I think it's kind of cute, actually. It's going to be fun. But before the wife and I put it on, one quick story, okay? It's about our kid. I know what you said about telling stories about the kid. This one's different, okay? Our kid is playing soccer the other day, all right? He's playing soccer, and he's a really good soccer player. I know a lot of parents say that about their kids, but they're just being parents. Truth is, their kids are slow and pretty much fat. But our kid is a real athlete, a real athlete. In fact, scouts are already looking at him. They're not really looking at him, but it's like that almost, you know. It's like they're looking at him. I mean, I can feel them coming. They're coming. Anyway, we're in a game. He has a chance to get the winning goal. It's the championship game. And some other kid comes along, one of the fat kids, accidentally kicks the ball, and instead of my kid getting the winning goal, the fat kid gets it. And I got to tell you, he's slow, he's uncoordinated. I don't know what he was doing on the field. It was a complete accident that the ball went in front of his legs. I'm thinking, what's the point of this kid getting the winning goal? There's no future for him in athletics. Meanwhile, my kid is being looked at. Why not let the kid who has the shot at the big time make the winning goal? We ended up calling the fat kid's parents later that evening and saying, if you're not going to talk to your boy, maybe we should. I mean, if they told the kid his future is vocational school, he's going to learn assembly line work. Why even play soccer? There are no Votech soccer teams. And the parents, I tell you, they bitch at us, they call us names. I hung up the phone, I burned down their garage later that night, torched it. Worthless jerks. Good luck parking your car in the winter now. Anyway, give me the ball gag now. Honey, let's put these on.
Hello.
Well, hello there, Tom.
Well, Tommy Mischke, what the heck's going on?
I'm sitting here in front of an electronic board and some screens, speakers, in a little room I like to call the Outpost here on the bleak barren tarmac of University Avenue. And you?
Standing out in winter wonderland out here, just staring out at a frozen lake with snow.
Well, clearly you're not in Alabama. Where are you, sir?
I am in Alaska, Tommy, on the Kenai Peninsula.
What the hell you doing there, Tom?
Living my best life, Tom.
Is it really your best life? Is Alaska where your best life can be lived? Come on!
I think it is.
And what do you do up there?
I'm a park ranger up here, kind of like a game warden back at home there.
What have you done in the way of employing your skills in the last week?
There were some guys, let's just say they were not doing the right thing out on the river, on the Kenai River there. I helped them correct their behavior.
What were they doing?
They had a few too many cocktails. They were driving a small boat up the river, and the boat they were in was about a third full of water, and the motor wasn't working that great.
You've described to me what I consider to be your typical Alaskan.
Well, there's plenty of that.
Didn't the guys say when you came up to them, we came to Alaska to get away from people like you. We just want to live like free men on this earth.
I guess in some way they did go about saying something like that, but let's face it, we all embrace that up here a little bit. So,
what did they get cited for?
Gave them kind of a break. So they were running a two-stroke motor when they weren't supposed to be, and they had a sinking boat, and it was in the dark. So I let them off with an easy one. I just wrote them for no registration on their boat.
They're in a sinking boat in the dark, having a few drinks, figuring, who's ever going to spot us here? Oh, no, it's Tom. What are the odds of the park ranger being here at this hour? You ever had to just, I don't know, up and shoot a guy?
No, nothing like that. I've had a few wild critters that I've had to pull the trigger on, but fortunately, no humans.
Wait a minute. What wild animals have you had to take out? They've been coming at you?
Yeah, a few times. I've had moose and bears.
They've been coming at you?
Yeah. Those moose are scarier than the bears up here, Tom. That's no joke.
And what was that moose going to do if he caught you, do you think?
Well, I think she was going to try to stomp me with her hooves.
Stomp you to death? Good Lord Almighty. I was stomped to death by a moose. Why did I ever come to Alaska?
She got about less than 7 feet away, and I let her have it and sent her to her forever home, so.
To her forever home? What'd you do with the meat?
Some local came by and butchered her up on site and brought it home and filled their freezer.
That guy was probably the one who sent it charging at you.
Quite possibly. I mean, it's a pretty lucrative deal to fill your freezer with a moose.
Good Lord. You don't see much of that in good old St. Paul.
My son shot his first bull moose this fall.
What were the circumstances?
Remote section of the refuge area up here. Climbed up a hill about a third of a mile from our camp. And to hunt moose, you got to call them. You got to talk to them. You interact with them. And this bull came out about 75 yards away, and my son was sleeping under the tree, so I kind of kicked him to wake him up. He woke up, put the bead on the moose, and pulled the trigger, and we got the job done.
You got to talk to them. You got to interact with them. So they got to think you're their buddy.
Their buddy or their girlfriend, one of the two.
Girlfriend's a buddy. Come on. So you got to pretend to be a buddy, and the moose is saying, what are the odds of yet another person trying to trick me? Eventually, you got to be trusting and hope that there's someone there you can date. Comes out, nope, fooled again. They're not the smartest creatures. They're not like dolphins or sperm whales, intelligent creatures that wouldn't be tricked by the old, I'm your species, come out and see me, I'd like to mate. What call do you make when you want to mate with a moose, Tom? What call do you make when you want to mate with a moose?
Well, I generally don't want to mate with a moose, but I want them to think I do, so they come out and we can put them in the freezer. But I usually do like a cow call. I can demonstrate one for you, Tommy.
That'd be great. I want to see what sort of effect it has on me.
All right, well, let's give it a go. You ready for it?
Ready. Hubba, hubba, what are you wearing? So then they come out, and do they seem kind of excited and happy? And then, of course, they see the gun, and they have the same face Joe Pesci had in Goodfellas.
If you get a big old dominant bull, he comes in, you know he's coming in. He makes a lot of racket and lets you know he's boss and grunts and rakes his antlers on trees and drools. And
I've heard when they're out in the water, you can jump on them and ride them.
Oh, I don't know if I'd recommend that.
but I've heard you can because they have to concentrate on swimming. So if you come alongside in a canoe, you can jump out and give them a ride for a little while. And then if the other guy paddles up to you, you can get back in the canoe. But for a while, you can ride them like John Wayne.
Man, I've never seen that. I'm sure it's happened.
And I don't mean people ride John Wayne. I mean it'd be like riding a horse, except you're riding a moose that's swimming.
Well, they did used to ride moose back in the day, in the mining days up here. They'd ride them up these trails in the mountains, these miners would. So somebody's figured it out.
I just thought of a great movie scene. Wouldn't a great movie scene have been someone captures John Wayne in a Western, and he's prisoner, and to humiliate him, they saddle him up, ride him around. He has to get on all fours, and they climb on his back, and he has to take him for a ride around the yard. He gets even later in the film, but these guys are just trying to humiliate him, so they're going, come on! And they're kicking him with their spurs, and he has to make horse noises. They're riding him all over this yard, and the kids are laughing. Everybody's pointing at John Wayne. Look at him, he's a horse. But his rage builds and builds and builds. And at the end of the film, he goes all Rambo on everyone. I mean, I don't know what that movie would be called. I have a feeling Quentin Tarantino would make it.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to be on the receiving end of that deal if you did that to old John Wayne.
Although it would be fun to say, isn't your real name Marion?
That might make him mad, too.
Did you know that his real name was Marion?
You know, I did hear that years ago, yeah. Wasn't he born in Iowa or something?
Yeah, born in Iowa, nowhere near the Old West. Name was Marion. And then the final indignity, you could say to him while you were riding him, take off your toupee. I mean, between that and Marion and Iowa, oh, would he be raging. Oh, my God. He'd bring his best guy with him to take him out. He'd bring Truman Capote, and the two of them would take all those guys out, take them down to Chinatown. Truman Capote and Marion. Ha ha! That'd be a good old movie right there. And then after, when all the guys are dead, John Wayne and Truman Capote could ride off into the sunset. Truman Capote on John Wayne's back. Well, I really have enjoyed talking to you. I know it's been a long time. You've been on the list a good long while, many months. But I tracked you down, and I'll probably talk to you again sometime.
Sounds good, Tommy. Thanks for calling. Appreciate it.
So long. You rarely think about the contract you have with your house, but you have one. It's an old agreement. When the temps hit 0, you demand 71 degrees. When you turn the faucet, you expect water that obeys. That expectation of things being perfect, effortless, that's what a company understands if that company is MSP, Minneapolis St. Paul Plumbing, Heating, and Air. They've been around since 1918 understanding this. They are the curators of comfort in your home. You don't need a handy repair person. You need a century of expertise showing up on your doorstep. If it heats, if it cools, if it flows, Minneapolis St. Paul Plumbing, Heating, and Air is who you want to call. And they've been called since 1918. Stop settling for less than a century of expertise, a century of knowledge, a century of mastery. Call MSP. Renew your contract with your house, that contract of comfort. You manage a business where a specialized machine called a pressure washer needs to be working and needs to be working well. A modern industrial pressure washer is not a machine you fix with a wrench and a prayer. That's why you want to know American Pressure. For decades, since the pressure washer first became a tool of serious commerce, American Pressure has been the constant. They didn't just learn the technology, they grew with it. Their technicians are not generalists. They're certified engineers in a service vehicle who understand the pressure washer like no one else in this region of the country. When you invest in their sophisticated pressure washer systems, they don't just hand you a manual. They provide immersive operational training. You can't afford a weak link in your operation. Your success depends on uninterrupted machine excellence. Your solution is simple. It's been there for decades. The true authority on pressure washers, American Pressure of Robbinsdale. I'd like to interject something here that has nothing to do with anything, really. I just feel the need to pass it along. We have a neighborhood Facebook group where I live in St. Paul. It's a lovely little area of St. Paul, of significant size. Not everybody knows everybody. It's not one of those deals. It's mostly strangers, as would happen in a large neighborhood in the city, inner city in my case. I don't know how many thousands are in the Facebook group for this neighborhood, but people were certainly feeling comfortable with one another and relaxed with one another today. Or at least the person posting this was feeling comfortable. Here's her post. Does anybody have a few spare colostomy bags that they would be willing to donate? Now, I obviously don't want to identify the person who posted that, but I do want to read a couple of the comments. Here's one. I have 10 drainable bags and 30 Help me. I have 10 drainable bags and 30 non-drainable bags. Kind of nice that someone was right there to help out. I didn't have any handy. I don't know what all can be used as a colostomy bag. I have bags if you're just looking for bags. Sometimes people will use a plastic shopping bag for a lunch bag, or they won't use a lunch bag as a lunch bag. They'll use it as something to blow into when they're hyperventilating. You can use bags for different things. So I could have thrown in that I have some bags. I don't know if they're quote-unquote colostomy bags, if you're going to be a stickler. Anyway, I wanted to be helpful. I wanted to be a neighbor who was willing to reach out, do his part. So I thought, you know what I have? I have several of those little bags that you often see available at dog parks, those little bags for collecting the doggy doo-doo. Small, tinted plastic bags from the doggy park. I realized I have several of those in the mudroom near the back door. All of a sudden I thought, I can be helpful here. In this case, that's actually what the bags are for. They're for collecting waste. So I messaged and said, if that other person doesn't work out with the bags they offered, I have these doggy doo-doo bags you're welcome to. I don't have a dog anymore. He died. So these bags are just sitting there. You're certainly welcome to them. And I felt so good about myself after that, because I haven't generally been able to participate in this community of neighbors on Facebook. But, did I get an angry reply. It's going to be a long time before I ever participate again in these community forums. I guess I just don't understand what people expect. The important thing is a good heart, and I thought I was showing that I had one.